This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for February 2nd, 2025. This is season 14, episode number 49, and episode number 479 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everyone. I am Bob Howard. Happy Sunday to you. Here in Binghamton, New York, just outside of Binghamton, New York, here at Box Studios. It is cold outside. It was cold last night as everybody was leaving the games, especially here in Binghamton. It was just frigid, and it's been a frigid winter, so to speak, but not for the Binghamton Black Bears. They've been on fire. They're hot, right? I mean, we can easily say it. They've won 10 in a row. They've got two of the longest running winning streaks here this season in the FPHL. They won 8 in a row. They lost a game, and then they won 10 in a row. It's a pretty impressive thing, and one of the things I wanted to talk about before we even got started with the regular portion of the show is that sometimes you have to stop, take a deep breath, look at the roses, right? Definitely not in the Walking Dead world. Don't stop and look at the flowers, because that's usually a bad thing. But you do need to stop this season if you're a Binghamton Black Bears fan, and just stop and kind of look around and see what you're seeing, see what you're watching, enjoy it, understand it, because this doesn't happen that often, especially in minor league hockey. You don't have teams that will repeat. I would say the same thing to the ECHL's Florida Everblades. I would say the same thing to the Hershey Bears. When you win 2 in a row, when you win 3 in a row, it doesn't happen. And they may never do it again ever in their histories, except for maybe the Hershey Bears, because, you know, it's the Hershey Bears. I mean, let's be honest. They're the most iconic team in minor league hockey. And they have been for years and years and years. But the Black Bears, I'm telling you right now, are trying to do things and are doing things that other teams in this league have never done in the 15 years that this league has been around. 3 hat tricks in one game. They're pretty sure 99.9999987% that is never been done. And what's crazy about that is there's been some pretty good teams that have had pretty good seasons and done some pretty remarkable things, but never had 3 hat tricks in one game. So that's pretty impressive, right? And you got to stop and you got to think, you got to look at, and you got to appreciate what you have, right? And I don't think any of the Binghamton fans are not appreciative of the Black Bears or the players or what's happening. But sometimes you got to look at the bigger picture. You got to look at the overall, what kind of history is being made, right? 10 wins is not the most wins in a row for an FPHL team, according to Gary Ryan, who probably does more research on these types of things for the FPHL. I look at it more on the Binghamton hockey side of things. 18 games is the winning streak that has been the most impressive in the FPHL. So, you know, Binghamton is close, you know, but I think the game right now in the FPHL is more competitive overall throughout all the teams, even the Dashers. I know that, you know, they're 1 in 26, 27, 28, whatever it is, right? I know that they don't look competitive. They don't seem competitive because of their standings, but they are. They're a more competitive team. They're 1 in 27, by the way. So I just think that Binghamton fans need to step back and just kind of, you know, there's only 20 games left, guys. There's 20 games. There is 22 games left. I can't do simple math here on a Sunday. There's 58 games in the season. 56 games in the season? No, there's 56 games. I don't know how many games there are in the season now. That's really bad. That's really bad that I started off this show and I am that confused on how many games they're going to play this year. Let's go to the schedule here on binghamtonhockey.net. It is 56 games. So there are 20 games left in the regular season. The Black Bears have only lost 5 games in 36 games played. It's pretty impressive. You got to step back and you got to look at that. You got to look at the fact that even with Tyson called up away for 6 games, he's still dominating the league in goals and in points. Dakota Bond has the most assists. It's pretty impressive. Don Oliveri has the most power play goals. Let's see here. We have the league lead in shorthanded goals. 13 shorthanded goals this season. It's crazy that they're almost as dominant on the penalty kill as they are on the power play. Think about that for a second. 13 shorthanded goals. And I'm pretty confident there is not another team that's even close to us when it comes to that many, right? Binghamton has 13. The next closest, Danbury Hat-Tricks, have 7 shorthanded goals. That's pretty impressive by them, right? Because they've had a more up and down season. Although I think they're starting to straighten things out a little bit. They've won 3 in a row. Port Huron has won 3 in a row, right? Watertown has won an extra game. But when you look back at this, you're going to see a team that, they're already at 89 points. And you just got to step back and just kind of enjoy it for a little bit, right? The Black Bears are going to have some time off this week, a little bit of a break in February because there is only one game on Saturday. I know, if you're paying attention to the overall what's going on in the world, you know that there have been 2 airplane accidents that have kind of freaked out everybody a little bit. There's, some people getting on airplanes this week that, we're all like, listen, let's just be careful. You got to be careful out there. There's, those tragedies kind of suck and they kind of affect our life and our well-being and our mental health because we get nervous about stuff like that. There's been some things that have happened in the lives of some of our players that are, affecting their mental health and their well-being, but they're strong individuals and they have a great support team with the Black Bears. It's pretty impressive what they've done to win 10 in a row, to go through some of the stuff that they've gone through. I know when the plane crash happened in Philly, Don was on the ice and it happened close to his home. And think about that for a second, right? You get off the ice and you look at your phone and it's blowing up and there's a lot of people text messaging you. These type of things are all the things that these players in some cases have to go through on a daily basis. They're humans just like us. And so when I say you need to step back and kind of look at what the Black Bears have done this season with the injuries and the suspensions and the adversities and the things that happen in their everyday life, like all of us sometimes have to deal with, right? Family matters and things of that nature, or just the fears of what happened while they're 4 hours away from their homes, 5 hours away, 6 hours away. We got a couple guys that are from Calgary. Things happen. And you have to be impressed on how strong-willed this team is. And no matter who's in the lineup, whether Tyson is up in the ECHL, living out a freaking crazy awesome dream for himself, right? Or, if they're home taking care of business, right? Taking care of some business, some personal business. This team still finds a way to win. It's just really impressive. They have a plus 82 differential. They've scored 177 goals this season and only given up 95, still underneath 100. I know it won't stay underneath 100 because that's just, mathematically not going to happen. They'd have to pretty much shut out everybody the rest of the way and only maybe give up 5 goals and, or 1 goal in 5 games. That's just not going to happen. But there are some pretty good defensive-minded teams in the Continental Division, but the Black Bears just overall, everything that they've done this year. Connor McAnanama, most wins in this season so far, which doesn't surprise me, right? Because the Empire Division keeps producing these kind of goaltenders that, like Brian Wilson, that can just win, right? And he did that when he was with the Danbury Hat-Tricks. So, again, the message here. take a deep breath. Enjoy it. Enjoy this upcoming weekend when they play against the HC Venom, right? There's nothing to be won or lost in that game for the Black Bears. I said that about the Mississippi trip, and I mean it here. They just went through 2 games where they were basically saying, we are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the FPHL. Regardless of what division that they're in, they are. And I just want to throw this out there, right? A lot of people are talking about how the Continental is so competitive, right? If you look at second place to 6th place, it's pretty impressive, right? Only 10 points separate Baton Rouge and Monroe, right? In Athens, you kind of almost have to take them out of the mix and wait to see them play another maybe 3, 4, 5 games, right? Because they've only played 27 games, and everybody else, like Columbus, has played 30 or more, right? So you let them play 3 or 4 or maybe 5 more games, right? Because the Black Bears have played 36 games, and the Rock Lobsters have only played 27. So that's a 9, difference. And what's impressive on the side for the Rock Lobsters is they've only given up 4 regulation losses, but they still haven't played 9 games to the Black Bears. So, 36 games, right? So there's a difference there. But if you take a look at this, there's Baton Rouge has 60, Monroe has 50. Well, guess who also fits into that grouping, right? Port Huron has 57 points. Danbury has 52 points, and Watertown has 51 points. Okay? So I understand why people want to jump to that. Port Huron has 18 wins. Danbury has 16 wins, right? And Watertown has 18 wins. So I, again, totally understand the thought process that Continental is more competitive. But let's just say there's haves, there's have-nots, and then there's the Black Bears. It's that simple. The have-nots are obviously the Biloxi's, the Danvilles, and the HC Venom. Maybe you could throw in the Motor City Rockers. Although I think the Rockers, they've got 13 wins, and they can beat any team at any time. I truly believe that. So there are haves and there are have-nots, and then there's the Black Bears. And, Kelly Howe said it best on my day after game report. Everything that I wrote is true. And she said, mic drop. And it's that simple. The Black Bears are the class. And it starts with the leadership. It starts with Andreas. Goes to Brandt. Brandt does all the recruiting, all the GM work, all the head coaching, the systems. He relays that information to his assistant coaches, Tyson Kirkby and Kyle Steffen, and gets that to the captains, and everybody in the leadership group knows exactly what is expected, how they're going to do it, how they're going to put it into place, and they do it. And that's kind of what they did. So let's get into the Columbus stuff, right? We got Eggy for 6 more questions, which I think will be very entertaining. And hopefully this upcoming week, we're going to have a pretty cool guest. I'm hoping that this works out. It all depends. I know some people are going to be, on a little bit of a holiday for a couple of days, but hopefully we can make the guest that Brandt and I are potentially trying to put together for the Power Play Post Show this week. It'll be very exciting. I'm not going to give you any more hints than that. All right. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for Power Play Post Show. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, as I just mentioned, Binghamton netminder Nolan Egbert answers 6 more questions. Now, I do want to throw something else out there before we start talking about the 2 Columbus River Dragons games. I had somebody come up and submit a criticism of the show. I'm not going to put his name out there, but he did come up and say that I was too nice to the Black Bears this season, maybe a little too positive, and not enough critiquing of the team and sometimes their play. And as much as I absolutely 100% appreciate everything that person said, I just want to make it perfectly known when a team has only got 5 losses in 36 games, what the hell do you want me to say? I mean, do you want me to say, like this past weekend, oh, the power play could have done better? But they still had probably 15, maybe 20 shots on the power play. They just didn't hit. It just didn't hit. I've made it perfectly clear that there are times when the Black Bears are aggressively trying to play offense, that every once in a while they will miss on a defensive assignment, and then it'll create a like a 3-on-1 or a 2-on-1 the other way in front of their netminders. That's always something that they can clean up. But realistically, those are nitpicking things. And I absolutely love the person who came up and said this to me, and it was all with a bunch of smiles. But it's hard to really nitpick some of what these guys are doing because, again, it would just be nitpicking, right? Giving you like a negative thing would just be realistically, just really nitpicking. And I want these guys to come on the show and have a good time and talk to me and, give me their analysis of what's happening in the games. And I'll let these guys sometimes, in a sense, critique themselves. The power play has been good. It's still the number 1 power play in the league. Or not. I mean, they've scored the most goals in the league on the power play, right? They're sitting around 3 or 4. That's okay. Penalty kill has been solid this year. A couple moments here, a couple moments there where maybe it could have been a little bit better. But it's very hard to pick on it. Yeah, sure. I've talked many times over the last 2 years about winning battles in the corners and the transition. Their transitions from zone to zone every once in a while gets a little sloppy. That's just normal. That's, but even great teams can get better, right? They can just improve. So again, appreciated the criticism of the show and of how I handled those type of things. I'm pretty sure it was all in pretty good fun. And just want to let everyone know that, if I'm not harsh, I'm more harsh probably on maybe a missed call or something than I am probably on this team. And I totally get that. But I also can bring you, these guys to you in a way that I think most people who listen to the show really appreciate. I know some of the guys on the team that listen to the show, and even head coach Brant Sherwood, when he listens, he's learning something new about his own players, about the people that, he is coaching and molding into better humans, hopefully when they leave, when they separate, than anything. So that's more important to me than kind of nitpicking, the play of some of the guys. Now, in some cases, like take for instance this weekend, Jesse Anderson. He gets cold. I mean, just like ridiculous. He puts on a very good hip check, right, to basically get in the way of number 13 on the Dragons' tree or whatever his name is, right? And then he turns around and he basically cross-checks to Jesse's head and then drops his gloves. Jesse did not. 5-minute major on the board, which is great. But in my opinion, where the referees really screwed up here is that they didn't call an illegal check to the head. That's what there should have been that. But I think at some point, maybe the referees are thinking, well, we can't put them down five minutes for the illegal check to the head, a match penalty, and then also call the fighting on them. I mean, that would be 5 minutes of 5-on-3. I think referees would probably be like, that would probably make their brains explode if they did something like that, which is kind of hilarious. So either way, the point is, I'll critique when I need to, and I'll critique the people that I need to, but I'm not going to do it in a way where I'm going to lose these guys from coming on the show. I just won't do that. It's happened once before, and I just won't do it again. So, all right, Well, the Black Bears defeated the Columbus River Dragons in both games this weekend, outscoring the River Dragons 15-5. 15-5? No, 16-5. They had 11 goals and 5 goals, and they only gave up 5 goals. So 16-5, earning their 9th and 10th wins this weekend. It was impressive, right? And they keep just being impressive. The Black Bears defeated the River Dragons 11-4 in a history-making game on Friday night. And in the first period, continuing the quick first period scoring for the Black Bears, Donald Oliveri showed off his impressive shot to score the Black Bears' first goal just 41 seconds into the game. Now, I would say if a team scores, say, in the first 5 minutes, maybe even 8 minutes of a game, that's pretty quick scoring in a period. The Black Bears have taken that kind of like to a new level because they've done it a lot in the last, say, 5 or 6 games, right? I mean, we've talked about it a lot. So the Black Bears have done it a bunch of times, and let's be honest, they did it this time 41 seconds into the game. It seems like recently, in the last 5 or 6 games, they've been able to score within a minute or sooner in some of these periods. And it's pretty crazy to think that they're able to do this almost on the regular now. And Don was able to do that. All right, now scoring the Black Bears' 13th shorthanded goal of the season. Dakota Bond put the Black Bears up by 2 goals at the 8:09 mark of the first period. I think that was actually the 12th shorthanded goal of the season at the 8:09 mark of the first period. All right, Friday night was the 12th shorthanded goal. With Hunter Bersini in the box for tripping, it only took 4 seconds for the Black Bears to score a power play goal off the stick of Donald Oliveri. His second goal of the period, Cody Wickline, got the River Dragons on the board at the 15:09 mark of the first period, making this a 3-1 game. Then another penalty by the River Dragons, Scott Daughtry. Oh, that's his name, Scott Daughtry. That's right. You'll hear his name a few times because he seemed to be the only guy that was trying to be very physical with the Black Bears, and they just weren't biting on it. So then another penalty to River Dragons, Scott Daughtry, led to the Black Bears' 4th goal of the period, this time off the stick of Kyle Steffen, who scored with 1:04 left to go in the period. First period notes. All right, 5:32 into the first period, the Black Bears have 8 shots on the goal to the River Dragons 0. They mimicked this the next day. This is the crazy thing. That's not the game that everyone thought they were getting, right? I talked to a fan leaving the game on Saturday night, and they were like, I was disappointed. They thought they were going to get better competitive games or better competition with the Columbus River Dragons coming in, and it didn't happen. And that was a fan coming up to me and telling me this. Jesse Anderson got a hooking call. However, I 100% understand why he argued it. It looked like slashing to me. Either way, it was a weak call. Like, listen, I remember Jesse coming around the player. He was the player was really kind of wrapping in on Nolan Egbert, and kind of like he was about to do that kind of like angle thing. He was coming down north to south on Eggy. And Jesse was beat a little bit, but he was catching up, and then he flung his stick around and hit the other guy's stick, right? And it was not hooking. There was nothing hooking about that call. It was literally a, slash, if anything. And they called it hooking. So I understood why he called the call. He argued it, and he got the unsportsmanlike conduct added onto it. This new way of just adding to pile onto players sometimes. But no surprise, the Black Bears score shorthanded with the confidence that they're a man down is so impressive. Listen, it takes confidence and trust in your teammates to be able to make that run and go for the shorthanded goal. And the Black Bears, I don't even think they are second guessing it. They're not thinking about it more than a second. They just go and they make the decision to do it. That was Dakota's 4th regular season shorthanded goal in his career and 5th all-time. He also has one last season in the playoffs. It only took 4 seconds on the power play for Donald Oliveri, who likely has the best shot in the league. Think about that for a second. You get the power play, drop the puck, make one pass, Oliveri takes a shot and scores. That's it, 4 seconds. That's all it took. It only, I know the River Dragons had to travel, but I don't think it would be this lopsided at the moment with 3:41 left to go in the period. It was 19-6 on the shots on goal lead for the Black Bears and a 3-1 lead in the goal department. Great to see Don Father have so much impact so early in the game, and Tyson being a part of that as well with 2 assists. Another key to this game is definitely the Black Bears are skating circles around the River Dragons. It was like the River Dragons were just standing still on the ice, and the Black Bears were literally synchronizing circles around them. I'm not kidding. That's what it felt like to me. It's all about moving your legs on the ice, and the Black Bears are just dominant tonight in that category. Dominant period for the Black Bears. 2 power play goals, a shorty, and an even strength goal. Shots on goal, Binghamton 23, Columbus 6. Second period, with Sammy Bernard now in the net for the River Dragons. They replaced out Patazian and put in Sammy Bernard. And out of position. I mean, he was just out of position, and the Black Bears drew him out of position. The Black Bears take a 5-1 lead off the stick of Scott Romakers, who was waiting in the slot all alone. I mean, he was basically just standing there, and he just slaps it in. That's all it was. And then Bernard comes out and argues it and goes to the referees. I don't know what he was upset about. It didn't make any sense to me. Gavin Eads scored his first goal of the game to make it a 6-1 game at the 5:11 mark of the middle period, making this a 5-goal lead for the Black Bears. The River Dragons got one more back just 13 seconds later with a goal from Ryan Hunter. Gavin Eads scored his second goal of the period, pushing the Black Bears to a 7-2 lead with a beautiful deke shot, crossing in front of Sammy Bernard with 1:47 left to go in the period. And we've seen it time and time again with Gavin. It's just the way he crosses over. He goes more like northwest across in front of the goalie, and he is just dominant. He can do the backhand. He can, he can do it quick enough and get it in between the goaltender and the post. It really doesn't matter. He's got so many tools in his toolbox when he's skating well, and he has been skating very, very good. Then let's see here. Then second period notes. Bernard was not happy with the 5th goal and came out to the blue line to complain about with the referee. The ref just pointed him back to the goal, and he didn't want to hear it. And there was nothing wrong to happen there. The River Dragons are now trying to play a run and gun against the best team in the league. They tried to pick up their pace a little bit and try to do the run and gun against the Black Bears, but the Black Bears are the best at it, and they're going to win it every single time. If you allow 2 people to get caught behind the play against the Black Bears, you're going to pay for that. And that's what happened a few times in the second period. The first 10 minutes of the period saw a lot of action, but after the 10-minute period mark, it started to slow down a little bit. Both teams had the pedal to the metal, at least in the first 30 minutes. And I say that in the sense that I think that was the best that the River Dragons could do. The team was 6-0. Without their captain, and with Kirkby in the lineup, the energy is just ramped up even more. He brings a certain energy to the game. He really does. The compete level between these two teams is showing the River Dragons are fighting for everything they can, but the Black Bears are just matching it 100%. Gavin Eads' second goal, he just owned the River Dragons and showed his elite skill over Sammy Bernard. If Donald Oliveri was on during the first period, then Gavin Yates was the player on fire in the second period, right? Shots on goal, Binghamton 17, Columbus 9. Totals are 40 and 15. You're not going to beat the Black Bears if you only have 15 shots on goal through 40 minutes. You're just not. It's just, you just can't do it. And Eggy has made all the saves that he's need to make up to this point. The Black Bears scored 3 goals early in the third period. Now, this is where it gets interesting because they do it in 1 minute and 48 seconds as they got the hat trick from Donald Oliveri at 33 seconds into the period. Another under-minute goal score, right? And then it happened again with Kyle Steffen, who scored 12 seconds later for his second of the night before scoring his hat trick goal at the 148 mark, making this now a 10-2 blowout game. However, the Black Bears were not done as Gavin Yates undressed Sammy Bernard again for his hat-trick goal at the 4:29 mark of the third period, making this an 11-2 Black Bears lead. So going into the third period, it was 7-2. And then the Black Bears go and they score 4 goals in 4 minutes and 29 seconds, and they scored 3 of them in a minute 48. Just crazy. The River Dragons, the rest of the game, tried to build some momentum and gain some confidence, scoring 2 goals at the 5:28 mark of the third period from Alexander Jemayev, and then at the 12:46 mark of the third off the stick of Ryan Hunter, who scored his second goal of the game. The Black Bears win the highly anticipated meeting 11-4, winning their 9th game in a row. Third period notes. What can you say about what we saw in the first minute 48 of the third period? 3 goals. Don completes his hat trick, and then Steph scores 2 to complete his hat trick. Just crazy. Gavin Yates was just on tonight, and when he's on, he can address any defense pair and any goaltender in this league. He got his hat trick less than 3 minutes after Steph completed his. There are like 2 hats left to go on the ice for Yates. That was funny. Okay, so I want to tell this little story. So it's kind of funny. The first hat trick, obviously 33 seconds into the first period or third period from Donald Oliveri. Ton of hats come down. The hamburger hats are out. Cheeseburger hats are out on the ice. There's like 3 or 4 of them, I think, now that people are throwing out there. Then Steph gets his hat trick, and there's like 7 or 8, and then you get to Gavin Yates, who probably had 3 of the sweetest looking goals the whole night. I mean, Don has a great shot. Let's be honest, but that's all about power, form, and technique for a slap shot, right? And Don would agree with that, right? But Gavin, it's like artistry on ice. It's weird. He's like an artist out there, and it's what's funny is like his nickname is Shooter McGavin, right? And yet the beauty that he skates and the way he flows and then shoots the puck is pretty crazy. So there was like 2 hats out there for Gavin Yates' hat trick, which is funny because everybody's hat was already on the ice. After that, the Black Bears had chances to see 4 goals from Yates, Ali, and Steph. All 3 had chances but couldn't convert, which was okay. It's okay. You don't need any more than that. You're piling on at that point. Now, in the last 15 minutes of the third period, the River Dragons were working hard to get some positive momentum and energy going on their sides with 2 goals in the third period. Now, of course, that's because you still have a Saturday game. So you have to kind of work hard there to try to build that momentum, try to figure out something else that'll work against the Black Bears. Did this game answer any questions that the Black Bears are simply the best team in the league? Right? I think they made their statement. The statement was made. Maybe the River Dragons will have a better performance tomorrow, but tonight they were not able to hang with the Black Bears. Both netminders Matt Batizian and Sammy Bernard just had their very worst games of the season. Period. That was a statement by the Black Bears. Exclamation point. Shots on goal, Binghamton 13, Columbus had 12 in the third period. Binghamton totals 53 and Columbus 27. Now, 27 shots on goal may get you some wins and be enough pressure in the Continental League, but obviously not here. All right, so I'm going to take a break. We're going to bring back our good friend Nolan Egbert, and Eggy's going to answer 6 more questions for you coming up next here, right on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. It is time for 6 more questions with Nolan Egbert. Eggy, are you ready for this? This is your second time through on this. You're the first guy to do it twice now.
Oh, what a privilege it is. Hopefully I'm ready this time around.
No, that's okay. Well, the first 5 questions are different, and the last one is still the same. But, number 1, who is your greatest influence in your hockey playing career?
I guess whoever I was fixating on with the Islanders when I was younger, I think mainly it was Chris Osgood for his brief stint, and then trying to find as much as I could with him as his career rolled along until he retired. I guess, I guess about 14 years ago now, how time flies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, number 2. Name one pregame ritual that you have to do before every game.
I think a basic cardio and stretching warm-up. Not too dull, but I don't think I could get on the ice without warming up my hips and groin. Otherwise, it'd be a short night before somebody's carrying me off the stretcher.
And that's the one that I saw you do down at the arena the one time, right?
Probably.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. All right, number 3, vacation destination. Are you a beach guy, a camping guy, or more of a staycation kind of guy?
Excellent question. I don't enjoy vacations very much, to be honest. I enjoy familiarity, so I guess we'll go with staycation.
You're the first guy to say staycation. To be honest with you, most of the guys said beach. So,
as a Long Islander, I get enough of that on a regular day-to-day basis.
Yeah, like guys are like, "Hey, let's go to the beach," and Eggy's like, "Sand, really? The wind? No, that's okay." I understand that. Okay, listen. When you were on the beach, when you were even remotely close to the beach, what do you do with your hair? That's my question, because I'll tell you what, I couldn't get one damn good picture when I was down in Point Pleasant, when I had the long hair and the curls and everything going on. I couldn't get a damn good picture unless I put a freaking hat on. Is that the case with you too?
Oh, I just let it fly with the wind and see wherever it may take it.
Fair enough. Okay, outside of hockey, okay, what is your go-to sport? MLB, NBA, NFL, MLS, PGA? What's the sport that... if you're not watching anything hockey, you watch that.
Competitive badminton. No, I'm kidding.
Love it.
I guess it would have to be probably baseball. I think I enjoy the most. Okay. I enjoy the NFL to a degree, but it's not like the Giants have given me much to be excited about for the past
Have they done anything this offseason? Have they done anything? No, nobody's...
the season's still rolling along. I don't believe they have access to do anything at this point yet.
Cowboys just hired a bumbling idiot, Brian Schottenheimer, so... I mean, you guys could be doing stuff too, but we haven't. Because my wife literally asked me. She goes, "Has the Giants done anything? By the way, your team hired a coach. What do you think of him?" And I'm like going, "Eh." And I'm like going, "No, your team hasn't done anything." So the Giants really haven't done anything yet. So I can understand your displeasure with them. So
very casual in terms of a Giants fan. I should be a Jets fan based on my Mets and Islanders affiliation.
Yeah, that's true.
My grandfather wanted one sport he could share with me.
Yeah. Well, wait. Does that mean he was a Rangers fan?
He was a Rangers fan and a Yankees fan. I wear 35 for Mike Richter, actually.
Oh, see, I love Mike Richter. He was great. He played here in Binghamton. You're playing on the same ice. I told you this before. On the same ice that Mike Richter came down and played 5 games for here with the Binghamton Rangers.
That isn't lost on me.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And I think Jeremy Brodeur played here, even though he's only the son of, but at least, it's kind of a connection. I don't know. Marty might have played here. He played in the AHL.
I would assume he'd played as as an opponent on that ice. He would have been with the Utica Devils at the time.
I just was thinking of that. I was like, Marty probably did play down here at least a little bit. So that's a couple of your idols right there, playing here on the ice that you're playing on, which is pretty cool. Okay, so I think I know the answer to this, but I'm asking everybody anyways. Number 5, if you were picking a movie, would it be a comedy, a drama, sci-fi, romantic, or horror? I think it's sci-fi, but I could be wrong. What would you pick?
That's an excellent question. I guess it's like picking your favorite food, whatever moment you're in.
Fair enough.
The only thing I really tend to avoid is the horror. I find it's just... it's like a roller coaster on a screen. It's not very deep most of the time. There's some exceptions, but
okay, fair enough.
I guess I'd be leaning more into action drama.
Action drama. Okay. I didn't put action on there. I should have put action on there. That's crazy that I didn't. I could have also
watched Dirty Harry for the first time last week.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's a very good movie. All right, number 6. You've had time because you knew this was coming. A zombie apocalypse has broken out and you are trapped in a hockey arena. who is the one person, dead or alive, fictional or non-fictional, that you would like to have in the arena with you. Now, remind the fans who you picked the first time, and give us who your second pick would be.
So the first time, I picked Genghis Khan because I believe there was no greater warrior of the human race better equipped to decapitate hordes of shambling corpses. But this time around, I won't go from history. I'll pick from the show we talked about, our shared love of last time. I'm going to go with Worf, especially his Deep Space Nine depiction. Because if I go with Next Generation, he'd get immediately, beaten up by some big zombie to prove how tough it actually is, because the writers didn't know how to do anything else.
Because they did that with the Borg. Whenever he went up against the Borg, he got thrown around. You're right. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Worf.
I love
later incarnation Worf.
Oh, my God. You've now probably given me, my two favorite answers in these last 2 years when it comes to this, because I absolutely do love Star Trek. And, of course, Genghis Khan is that's just like an iconic pick, because I didn't think anybody would actually go that route, and you did. Eggy, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming on. Good luck with the rest of the season. Wherever this takes you guys, it is a special ride that you guys are on. So enjoy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bobby. Great to talk to you as always.
And we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. That was Nolan Egbert answering 6 more questions here on the Power Play Post Show. And it's the first player to go through it the second time, which is pretty cool. Now there's a couple guys that last year I had interviewed before I started actually doing these. So there's a couple guys that hasn't gone through this at all. So hopefully we'll get some of those guys on here pretty soon to do some more of these, which will be a lot of fun. Now, just as a reminder, in the first segment we talked about the Friday night game, right? The Friday night game, dominant River Dragons, the domination of the River Dragons with the 3 hat tricks in the 11-4 win. Remember, Donald Oliveri had a hat trick and assist. Gavin Yates had a hat trick and assist. Kyle Stephan had a hat trick and assist, or had a hat trick in the game. This has never been done, as far as I can remember or know, in Binghamton hockey history, and I have to do some research on that. So 3 hat tricks for the Black Bears. It definitely has not happened at all in the FPHL's history. I mean, that's pretty impressive. CJ Stubbs had 4 assists in the game on Friday night. Tyson Kirkby had 3 assists in his return to the Black Bears. Dakota Bond had a shorthanded goal and 2 assists. Scott Romekers had a goal in the game. All right, his goal was funny because it just ticked off Sammy Bernard so much. Nolan Egbert saved 23 of 27 shots to earn his 12th win of the season. And the Black Bears were at that point then 34-1 and had 86 points and now had won a season high 9 games in a row. All right, so that leaves us Saturday. The Black Bears defeated the River Dragons 5-1 in a history-making game on Friday night. In the first period, again, the Black Bears score early in the game to start the game with a Dakota Bond at the 2:01 mark of the first period. With Dakota Bond then in the box for cross-checking, Kyle Stephan scored the Black Bears' 13th shorthanded goal of the season to make this a 2-0 lead for the Black Bears, right? So it's so funny how Dakota and Kyle Stephan are just so connected here, right? Because it was Dakota Bond that scored the shorthanded goal on Friday night, and then Kyle Stephan did it last night or on Saturday night. Pretty impressive. First period, now C-Mac gets the start tonight for the Black Bears, and if he wins, it'll be his 19th win of the season. Emerson Emery is in for the Black Bears on defense for Dale Dion, who's off tonight. Jesse Anderson and Dan Weber will pair up as Emery started the D pair with Nicholas Poirier. And I want to say something because I don't want to forget to say it later on. Emerson Emery had a phenomenal play where he pushed a Columbus River Dragons player up against the boards late in the third period or middle of the third period, and it was just an excellent play to stop a high-pressure attempt that the River Dragons were trying to do. And just so you guys know, when I saw Emerson at the end of the game, I did say, hey, great job with that play. That was just a great defensive play. This is the guy who has played a little bit of defense, but he's mostly played forward in most of his career, and he's learning from the best, like a Jesse Anderson who was a forward and become a defenseman. It's just a great job by Emerson, and we did make sure that was noted and said to him after the game. With the Black Bears going on a 5-on-3 play, Brant Sherwood elected to take his timeout at the 3:15 mark of the first period. I got to be honest with you, I'm up there going, why is he doing this here? I mean, yeah, okay, fine, it's a 5-on-3 power play for the Black Bears, but do you really need to stop and draw something up? And that's what he did. He was out there. You can see him talking to his players, and I think it's about putting their feet on the throat of the River Dragons, right? Because I said to Gary Ryan, who's sitting up in the press box with me, I said, why is he calling the timeout here, right? I mean, listen, guy, I'm not second guessing what Coach Sherwood does. Everybody knows what I think. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job in the past 2 years, but that's one of those moments where I'm like, really, a timeout here? I mean, you got a 5-on-3. Do you really need to do that here this early in the game? But it didn't hurt them. 6:30 into the first period, and the Black Bears had 9 shots on goal lead. And that's the thing that probably blew my mind the most. The Black Bears were able to get so many shots on goal against the River Dragons before they were ever able to do it. If you take before it went to 9-1 shots on goal, right? I think it might have been 9-0 and then 9-1. I think the River Dragons got their first at the 7:15 mark, right? And then you take the night before where they had 8 shots to nothing before the River Dragons got. That means they got 17 shots on goal to start these 2 games without the River Dragons even getting a puck on the net. And that doesn't mean they didn't take shots, but, we're talking about shots that the goaltender truly has to make a save for, right? That's just pretty impressive. The whole start of this game in front of the River Dragons netminder, 7:15 was the first shot on goal for the River Dragons, 13 shorthanded goals for the Black Bears now this season. That was Kyle Steffen's second shorty of the season. Both teams had a double minor in the period. The Black Bears will carry over to the second period. The River Dragons will have a 2:01 power play to start the second period. Shots on goal was Binghamton 16, Columbus 9, a little bit better ratio there, I guess, than the start of the game before, where Black Bears were winning 4-1. All right, in the second period, with Gavin Yates in the penalty box for high sticking, a double minor was serving that carried it over from the first period. The River Dragons took advantage with a Justin McDonald goal, 1:04 into the middle period. I think if the River Dragons are going to be at their best, Justin McDonald has to be at his best. Josh Fletcher scored at the 3:35 mark, where the Black Bears had to have referees review the goal as it was initially waved off. Josh Fletcher scored the Black Bears' 4th goal of the game at 1:37 left to go in the middle period, making this a 4-1 game. Then 16 seconds later, the Black Bears got another goal, this one off the stick of C.J. Stubbs, ending the period with a Black Bears 4-goal lead. And what's impressive here, what's interesting here, is that they continue to score goals so quickly in bunches. It's just a theme this year. It really is. It's just something that we're going to take note and think about and talk about at the end of the season. The Black Bears have another goal this weekend at the 30:35 mark of the second period that was waved off as goalie interference. Again, another challenge by the Black Bears. Now, if you remember, the night before on Friday night, they waved off and Binghamton lost a challenge on the Zach Sirota goal, right? And Zach Sirota's skate is pretty close to the post. And if the goaltender cannot make the move back over completely to the post, then that would be that he's too far into the crease, and that is goalie interference. And they did rule it that way. And I think that you can make an argument that that was the correct call. As much as I from where I saw at the press box, man, it looked like it was just, and my angle is almost the same as like Coach Sherwood's angle from looking at it, but he might have had players in front of him where I'm up a little bit higher. I could see it both ways, but man, I really wanted Sirota to get that goal on Friday night. Well, tonight it was Fletcher with Cam Clark getting the goalie interference, and they reviewed it and they won the challenge. First of all, the goaltender was completely out of the crease. Well, he wasn't completely out of the blue paint, but he was really far out of there. And Clark wasn't really affecting him. And yet the referees were just quick to make it call goalie interference. They reviewed it. And obviously, it was a good goal for Josh Fletcher, his second, right? Now, I do want to say that I did talk to Coach Sherwood just a little bit after Saturday's game, and he did mention that he said that Burchard, who is the head coach of the River Dragons, he was really ripping and raring because he did not like that Brandt called the review on the Zach Sirota call the night before. And he had some issues with some things this year, or with this game as well. So Bejard was definitely not happy, but I think he's got to be more unhappy with the way his team played. This period felt a lot slower and not as crisp for either team. The Black Bears still dominating in shots on goal, but the River Dragons have gotten better chances in this period. In this period, the River Dragons are getting more chances, and better movement in front of CMAC. There were certain parts of the game or period where they were. What an end to the period with the Fletcher and Stubbs goals. Okay, in the third period, the Black Bears and the River Dragons were both left scoreless as the Black Bears won their 10th game in a row. This game was 5-1. For a game that hasn't been overly physical, there were 3 double minors called, 1 for the Black Bears and 2 on the River Dragons. I kind of find that one a little funny. The third period was kind of a back and forth between the two teams. I think the statement had been made this weekend, so I wanted to end tonight's game with the day thread with a what the F moment. What the referees did not see at the 7:37 mark of the third period, Jesse Anderson landed an awkward but fair hip check to Scott Daughtry, and Daughtry then turns around, cross-checks Jesse in the head, and then drops the gloves. I'm sorry, but if there isn't a more blatant miss of an illegal check to the head, then I don't know what to say. And you cannot blame Jesse for the water squirt on the River Dragons. That happens because the referees are not protecting anyone there. Rant done. So, he squirted one of the players of the River Dragons. He gets an unsportsmanlike, and he goes in the box for 2 minutes. But you can't blame him, right? If you're not going to protect the players with an obvious call, that is the call that needs to be made. It's not like there's another game on Sunday and the teams can kind of go at it and Jesse can, settle the score. No. It just didn't seem right. The Black Bears scored the 13th shorty of the season. The Black Bears have now won 10 games in a row, most in franchise history, which 9 was as well when they had 9. The Black Bears are now a point away from 90, sitting at 89 points through 36 games. They are now 31-4-1. It's crazy. What an amazing run the Black Bears are on. Shots on goal, 15 for the Black Bears, and only 6 in the last period of the River Dragons. Not a statement made by them at all. Binghamton 51 and Columbus 30. Again, 30 shots, pretty good, right? The Black Bears sweep the weekend series against the River Dragons. Josh Fletcher had 2 goals in the game. Kyle Steffen scored the game-winning goal and had an assist. CJ Stubbs scored in the game. Dakota Bond scored in the game as well, right? Cameron Clark, Scott Ramakers, and Dan Stone each had 2 assists. Connor McAnanima saved 29 of 30 shots and won his 19th game of the season. The Black Bears now have won 10 games in a row and improved to 31-4-1 with 89 points. The Black Bears' next game will be on Saturday, February 8th, a home game against the HC Venom. My final thoughts of this game, I mean, you really just need to go to the Facebook group page for the Power Play Post Show and basically read what Kelly Howe says is a mic drop, day after game report. You can say that the competition is not the same between the Empire and the Continental. I disagree. I get it. But I think that if you put Danbury in the Continental Division, they'd have the same record or maybe a little bit better than they have right now. I would say the same thing about the Wolves, although the Wolves have gone through some pretty crazy stuff this year, right? With players leaving and going. I mean, the Wolves at the beginning of the season were freaking on fire, and they were good. And I still think that they're keeping themselves up there. They're still winning games. And so, but I think you have 3 teams in the Empire Division that fit in nicely in between that second place and that 6th place spot. And then the Black Bears are just outside. They're just next level. They're above these teams in the talent and the systems and the execution and how things are done. So that's it for me. I hope you guys all have a great week. We'll have a good show coming up. We'll review preview the upcoming game against the HC Venom on Saturday. The boys will have Friday night off, which is pretty cool for them. Pretty cool for pretty much everybody, even fans. Go spend some time with your family or go out and eat a meal or maybe watch a movie. But it should be a nice weekend to everybody. Just, only have to put in 1 game's worth of effort, which is awesome. The Black Bears and then after that, they play 2 more games against the HC Venom at home. So on the 14th, which is Valentine's Day, and the 15th, that Saturday. So it's 3 games in a row against the HC Venom. But we'll see how things go. Can't count our horse before the buggy. So, as they say, the Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for Power Play Post Show. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Thank you to Rob Lapolis, our MC, John Petitucci, our musical director, and from the Binghamton Black Bears, netminder Nolan Egbert for answering 6 more questions. I am Bob Howard. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.